Welcome to the SJ Child Show. This episode is sponsored by Water and Body Basics. Visit 3440 South, 5600 West, West Valley City, Utah. Mention SJ Childs today.
So it's so hard. So I think if we can take that more compassionate, brain-based approach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just recently finished a book, Uniquely Human. Have you heard of that?
Never.
It's incredible. And I just listened to it on Audible, which is fantastic because then I can get all my chores done and listen. And it really, I believe that over the last, decade, obviously I've learned so much about autism and so many different types of disabilities along the way. But you keep learning and you keep learning. And I can honestly say within the last 5 weeks, my mind has opened up more to these ideas that I've learned in this book than ever before, in the sense that we're all of our behaviors are human behaviors. Even our kiddos with special needs, their behaviors are still human behaviors. They're not alien behaviors, they're literally, we jump up and down, we shake our hands in the air, we yell loudly sometimes, mostly in inappropriate times like football games or things. But what if we lose our temper? That's not an appropriate time to raise your voice, but we do it.
Yeah.
But we don't hold ourselves accountable for that.
I love
it's okay.
I love it. Exactly.
Parents, right? And so I'm really looking and seeing all of these. I don't want to say that behavior training or helping behaviors is a bad thing, but I think strategizing is a much better word. I think that looking at human behavior and strategizing ways to make it easier for someone is better than saying change your behavior, because just like you were saying, they have expectations that like we see, what I remember when our daughter was a little bit younger and we could hear her saying a sentence that she was going to come in and ask us. She would pre-ask herself and get it all scripted out and then come in.
I love it. They're delivering so little and they're thinking out loud.
Yes, it's
you have
just
time to
the
prepare
sweetest
yourself.
thing. Exactly. And now we realize in that same thing, she comes to us with exactly what you said. She has the idea and the outlook of what's going to happen, but not the other outlooks that also could happen. She has the desired outcome that she wants. And if that is unattainable, there is nothing else going to take its place. It's that or nothing. And that's so hard to have that black and white thinking.
Yes.
But we as adults have it, and we challenge our kids not to. It's so we just really need to connect as human beings to all of us when enough, right? And accept that I'm an adult and I'm going to be talking to these children in my neighborhood. I'm not going to be disrespectful to them because they don't deserve it. But there's other parents on my street who I don't think they've ever talked respectfully to a child. They've never done that. And it blows my mind, and it just is, it's so interesting. So thank goodness for
I hear you.
Human,
I like that. Uniquely human. I wrote that down because I'm similar to you. I'm always adding more tools to my toolbox.
Yes.
And I think the more we learn, the more we understand. I think it's like a fishing net, right? And at first our net is really loose and the holes are really big. And so we do come in with some knowledge, but then the more we get some information, but the more information we have, it's like our net gets a little bit tighter. I don't know if this is a good analogy.
I love it.
But our holes get a little bit smaller and we're able to retain more knowledge, but also we're able to, because we have higher level thinking, we're able to integrate these knowledges. And so some of what we learned before is valid, but maybe now new information. Okay, that makes more sense. And then you just keep adding layers and layers and layers of understanding.
Yeah.
And then, now you can be hopefully a more compassionate person, a more understanding person. And like you said, not having these adult expectations on these little children who they're kids.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and it's not that we give them everything, because it's our responsibility to train up a child the way they should go as
Yes.
well. But if we could do that alongside, instead of in such a
Yes.
confronting kind of a manner, and I think that's
Exactly.
probably more of a, to be honest with you, I think it's more of a Western approach. Like, it's more of a European Western approach to parenting. Like, children should be obeyed, or children should obey. Children should be seen and not heard, the way it used to be. But we still have
Yes.
this hierarchy. And I
Yeah.
think in some other cultures, it's less so of a hierarchy.
Yeah,
there still is. There
definitely.
still is hierarchies. We need hierarchies, but it's also more kind of encompassing, and knowing that a child is at a child level and they will grow. But if we could teach alongside rather than confronting so much, we would get along more. And
Yeah.
there's also the understanding too that behavior is communication.
Mhm.
Behavior is
Yes.
a language
Love
itself.
that.
It's communicating. It's a communicating
So
a need, a
true.
want, a desire. So behavior, slamming the door. Okay, so here's mine. He's sensory seeking. So when we also let's layer on the sensory integration piece too.
So
okay,
true.
we have attachment. We have brain-based disability. Let's throw sensory on there. Okay, like now our net is getting smaller, and we can really see what those needs are. So my little guy, all of a sudden he's walking around the house really well. He's not little anymore. He's 13, but he's walking around the house really loudly. He's not exactly stomping. He's more like flat-footedly, like smack, 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 all over the hardwood floor. And what I come to realize is it's a bid for attachment. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Will somebody pay attention to me? Rather than saying, hey, mom, will you come play a game with me? Or hey, dad, can we go play soccer? It's making noise.
Notice me.
Notice me. But that's not because he has the language, but he doesn't know how to activate it at that time, right? So rather than saying, hey, you want to come hang out with me? Can we play a video game together? Can we wrestle? Can we? He's walking around the house, and it makes his sisters angry, and it makes us holler at him, right? It makes us
Yeah.
like, what?
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
With another lap, So what I've learned to say is, hey, you need attention right now, and he and I are both really playful people. We're both extroverted and playful. So do you need attention right now? And I give him this great big old mom bear hug, but he's also the kid who needs that proprioceptive deep tissue, right? So
Yes.
big hair, big wrestle. Used to be able to flip him to the floor. Now he's as big as me. So now it's dangerous to do that.
Yeah.
But playfully. He was the kid that we could have, like, hey, do you need some attention? And we would have a pillow fight with each other. Like he needed that kind of stuff. So now he's bigger, but he still needs it, but he doesn't always have the language.
Yeah.
So if I could see that and I'm starting to see those behaviors, sometimes as I have energy I don't know what to do with. Sometimes it's anxiety, I don't know what, but sometimes it's attachment. And and how do you know? It's a bit intuitive. It's a bit just kind of like learning. You're the investigator. You're trying to figure out who your kid is. But
yeah, really
but
just kind of
disciplining
knowing your kid. Exactly.
Yeah, and disciplining it's not going to work.
No, agreed. I like that you said that. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Exactly. I read in one of your posts the other day about your lanyard around your neck. Show us your lanyard and tell us about that, because I think this is a really a subject that a lot of parents probably have the same.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't even think about it, but this is the lanyard I wear every day. And I did have a post of it on Facebook, and these are the keys I have on my lanyard. And I have to wear this every day to prevent negative behaviors. The negative behaviors in our case are taking things that don't belong to you. And then that goes to lying to cover up. And like, I'm not even going to shame my kids about that. I'm not even going to call it lying, because you know what? If I do something I know I'm going to get in trouble for, I'm going to lie about it too.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a person of good character. I am a person
Exactly.
of very good character, and I try not to lie. But if I get caught red-handed speeding,
yes.
Oh, sorry, officer, I didn't realize. I damn well knew I was going to do that. But like we like it's a natural,
fight or flight.
Fight or flight. It's natural. So I'm not even going to call it lying. But my kids are impulsive. My kids cannot link cause and effect. My kids don't have a friggin' disability, and they will take things that don't belong to them. And then when you don't have the setup for success, so you don't prevent that from happening, it just keeps happening over and over and over again. And then the family is stressed out, the family relationships disintegrate, the quality of family life, and your kids you think badly about your kids, and they react badly in response to you thinking badly about them.
So true.
We've all been there. Yeah. And families break down over this. Marriages break down, kids get kicked out, kids run away. It's awful.
Yeah.
So this lovely little lanyard, probably from the dollar store, because that's how I roll. lanyard has keys on it to my bedroom door so that I have a safe place to put my purse. Otherwise, if I don't lock up my purse, my iPhone will be lifted. My credit
Oh,
card will be lifted. Any
Oh.
money, I try not to have money in my wallet, but if I do, I think they sniff it out. And my money will be lifted if I don't lock it away.
yeah.
And you could say, well, when will they ever learn? I don't know. But right now they have a brain injury. And so to set them up for success,
Yes.
prevent the negative behaviors, I am going to lock my things away because
Yeah.
they will not learn. I've tried the other way and it does not work.
And like
So
you said, it's prevention. You know, it's
prevention.
not punishment for them. It's prevention for misunderstandings in the future.
Yeah, and a really negative outcomes and really negative
Yes.
behaviors that will destroy our family life. So also my teenage girls have locks on their bedroom doors. So because my son is so impulsive. And so that they actually they steal too, like they take things too. So they have locks on their bedroom doors so that the other siblings aren't going in. We have lock on our bedroom door. Now we don't lock our kids in.
But yeah.
It's key locked from the outside. So they
Yeah.
have control of that lock. I don't have control of that lock. So
Yeah,
that's important to know. But I have a key so I can
Just
get
their
in.
material items. Exactly.
And it's a key, but it's all key locked. So if there's an emergency, I can get in. Or if
Yes.
I'm worried about there's dangerous things in their room, I can go in, you know.
Yes.
Or if there's just the accumulation of 15 coffee mugs, I can go in, you know, or that laundry smells so bad. I think there's a zombie in there. I can go in and get the laundry, right? Like they don't have that control, but they have the control over their own space.
That is nice.
And I also have a key to some kitchen cupboards. Not all the kitchen cupboards. My kids have access to the bread, the peanut butter, the jam, the cereal, the fridge. They have access. What they don't have access to all the time is the cupboard where the medication is. When we talk about where that is, they don't have access to where the knives are. Can we talk about why that is? And I mean butter knives too, and the scissors. And in that same cupboard are knives, scissors, medication, and the sweeter snacks, the fun snacks that you have at school. You know, even if they aren't sweet, maybe they're Ritz crackers or those little things that you like to send in your school lunches. But they are a little pricey sometimes, or you just want to have a measured approach. Like you have one a day. I'm trying to teach my kids.
Exactly.
Well, but what if I want 15 a day? So I just lock that cupboard so that I can limit their access.
Yeah.
I'm not controlling their life. I'm limiting their access to some things, but they have access to other things.
Yeah.
I also have a key lock. It's the same key, like it's a multi key, right? And I also, our garage is attached to our house and it's a key locked from the inside of our house. So if we ever have somebody working here, they're like, well, that's interesting. And I'm like, hey, it's a day in the life.
For us. Yeah.
It's a day in the life. And I don't care what they think.
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, it's an opportunity. I just teach
for them to learn.
FASD. I just teach them, and they're like, "Oh crap!" I'm like, But we lock that up too, so that I keep my deep freeze out there. I have a tall deep freeze, and so I keep that out there because that way, if I have ice cream or if I have pre-made meals or I have things that I'm planning, you know, moms, you plan what the meals are going to be. You don't need somebody raiding that.
Yeah.
So that's locked away. Husband's tools, chemicals, the vehicles. Nobody has thought yet about joyriding yet in my house, but I keep my vehicles, our vehicles are in the garage and they're locked. And then the garage is locked and we no longer keep our keys to our vehicles by the back door next to the garage. We now keep our keys locked away in in my purse or in our bedroom.
Yeah.
So let's just like that thought hasn't occurred to anybody yet, but let's just make it. Prevention is about making it a lot harder to fail than it is to succeed.
I like that. And I'm glad that I brought it up because I think that just hearing the word locked out of is, you know, people could get cringy, but
They can get cringy.
How you explained it. I love it. I support it. I think it's great. I think that looking at prevention is so important. It's just like looking at prevention for all of this in the first place, right? What's the first step of prevention here in all of this? Ladies, be careful about your alcohol consumption before and while you're planning to get pregnant. And then we won't have to have lanyards with keys on them in the future.
Here's my lanyard. But also, you know, even, like the prevention piece, you've got a baby at home who's learning to walk. Don't you put up a baby gate by the stairs so they don't fall down?
Of course.
This is my baby gate. Like they will fall down. So what if I lock it so they can't fall down?
Yeah.
And it's never been presented to my kids as a punishment, like you dirty, rotten scoundrels. That's not the message. The message is, I understand you have a brain injury. I understand this is really hard for you. So I'm going to lock this so you don't feel that anxiety.
Yes.
And, you know, and it was hard for me. I used to work in group homes. I did not want my family life to be a group home. I resisted it. I spoke with my social worker about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, lots of families on my caseload." I'm like, "What? Nobody ever told me this."
Yeah.
So that's why I posted that on there too. Like, hey, dude, it's just a day in the life. But you know, so many people wrote back to go, "I've been thinking about that," or "Yeah, we have to do that too." But thank you for normalizing it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because I think that that's what it is. I think that we all don't know what it's like to be in the day of life of anybody but our own selves. And just like
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, you know, to you that, you know, our son's sleep schedule is unorthodox and people wouldn't understand. And people might think, you know, oh boy, this mom is not doing what she needs to do to regulate her son. I see, like you and I talked about it, I see it from my husband's perspective. I see how he regulates himself and how he is, you know, being able to be out in the world and, you know, a normal member of society.
Yeah.
And nobody asks him how many hours of sleep he got or what time he went to bed and woke up during the day, right? Nobody ever asks
Did you
him
ask
that.
me? You didn't ask
No,
me.
I didn't ask you either. But they're so concerned about
Yeah.
my son's sleeping habits, my
Yeah.
son's sleeping times, and everything. So I think that that's just so interesting. I love that you normalize that, just like you said, because it's normal for us. It's normal for us to be half of our family asleep during the day and half of us awake during the day, and none of us are judging or caring, or it doesn't impose anything on us now. Now, if it does in the future, we'll work to that. We'll get to that
Exactly.
bridge if we do, right?
But you've provided some accommodations there too for your child. First of all, I believe you told me you homeschool.
Yes.
So then that sleep schedule, so long as he's getting enough sleep, but there again, what can you do? But, you know, if he flips it around and he sleeps during the day sometimes and sleeps at night the other times, but because you're homeschooling, that's the accommodation.
Yes.
You're
Exactly.
like, okay, if this is how your brain works, this is how your biology works, then how do we accommodate that?
Exactly.
You know, so how do we make this work for you? So, you know, and I'll have to do that for my kids, but don't we all have to do that? Like, if we're not a morning person, do we elect to have a job that starts at 5 a.m?
Yeah, right.
Like, no,
Yeah.
I am not a morning person. So, you know, if there's a flight to go to, remember when we used to go travel? Do you remember those days? You know, when I'd love to go to Jamaica and there's a flight that leaves at, 5 a.m. and my husband's like ready to book it. And I'm like, no, no. That means I have to get up at 3 in order to get ready. And I'm like,
not
you know,
happening.
like that's what babies are for. Like, I don't get up at 3.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not ready. Like, if we're going to do that, then let's just go to the airport and I'll sleep on a bench, because like, seriously, that is not a vacation to me, because I'm not a morning person. So like, yeah, I miss 3 hours and I take the noon flight. Okay. But I accommodate my life, right?
Exactly.
And so you've made that accommodation for your son. If your son had to be in public school, then you would have to do something differently. Either
Exactly.
you would miss some days of school, or you would medicate him to sleep, or whatever you would do. But we have to. And conversely, my girls they are morning people. They are early birds, and it's not even a function of disability, although it could be, but also their grandmother. And this is the benefit of having an open adoption. Their grandmother is an early bird. She is up at the crack of early to catch that worm, and she's after it, and a hard worker. And my girls are up at the crack of early, like, God love me, 5:30 in the morning.
Oh gosh.
When they were little. And I'm like,
yes.
You know, where's the coffee? Like, and they're not big enough to make coffee yet. Now they are. Now they know.
Thank goodness, right?
But, and also they're big enough now, they can get up and have their own breakfast. And so I don't even hear them. They're up at 5, 5:30, 6, whatever. They're quiet. They make their own breakfast. They're, you know, you do you. You do you. Don't do that to me.
Exactly.
Let's just love me enough not to wake me up at 5:30. That's fascinating. But then as we move forward to my girls moving into having jobs, I'm talking to them about, you know what, that's really amazing. There's some jobs that are early in the morning jobs that would be really great for you. One of them would be really great, maybe working in a lab. She's not great with people. She doesn't like to be around people.
Yeah.
So working in a lab, working in a bakery,
I was just going to say bakery. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah, and she loves it. And she loves baking, and she loves that science. Like, she loves it. So like a bakery would be great for you.
Yes.
The other one, to do all
especially
those
early
things
in the morning.
early in the like it's perfect. Like, you want to
Great.
start at 4 a.m, that's no problem for you. Me at 4 a.m, I might as well sleep overnight because it's just not going to happen. I have
Yeah.
to sleep to get up that early. But and my other one also wakes up early, but her personality is a little different. And so for her, like, I just realized this now. I'd always said bakery and stuff like that, but she would like to work in a daycare. And I've told her for years she would be so great working in a daycare.
Yeah.
And she could be a level 1, maybe even a level 2 childcare worker. So you're not in charge of the whole room, but you have skills and you can contribute and she can learn. And she would be golden at that. But daycares start early.
Yeah, they do. That's
Some
perfect.
do. That
Yeah.
would be perfect for her. She's optimal between, like early in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Perfect. You have that shift.
Exactly.
You know? So we have disabilities, we have temperaments, we have disability. So we have to create accommodations
Yeah.
to work with those things rather than working against these things. So I'm starting to view this as, let's go with the flow of the river. Let's go with the current instead of always going against the current.
Yes.
Because I don't want to go against current in my own personal life.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that is an expectation a lot that hopefully is changing when they, our kids go into school settings, into therapy settings, into those things that let's be flexible. Let's have flexibility with them, not have like rigid boundaries because they're all individuals. They all have their own individual needs. And I mean, I guess that's a good place to have boundaries because they have them. But at the same time, I think that learning how to accommodate and just be understanding of everyone's needs is so great. It's so great.
When it's like things like at school that can be accommodating, like the school schedule might not be able to accommodate, but there again, it might. Like if some children with FASD have a really hard time waking up in the morning, many do. Like mine are kind of the outliers. Many have a really hard time getting up in the morning. And so if you can work out with your school and negotiate with your school that your child has a later start time,
Yeah.
And so it might be too that your child will take longer to get through school. So be it. Because developmentally, they are younger than they are chronologically.
Yeah.
And so developmentally, they will not be able to handle the curricular outcomes anyway.
Yeah.
Because, if they are 8 years old, but developmentally they're 4, or let's say they're 10, that's 5th grade, right? 5th grade is a big challenge. It's a big step up from 4th grade in terms of curriculum, in terms of expectations.
Mhm.
So if you're a 10-year-old in 5th grade, but developmentally you're 5,
Yes.
my gosh, you're not going to be able to keep up anyway. So you're going to need IEPs, you're going to need individualized education plans. So what if that plan also included starting a little bit later?
Exactly.
Or what if you're really sensory avoidant? And so the hallways are too crowded and too noisy. So what if you have permission to start, you just come into the class after 10 minutes later and you leave 10 minutes early. You've gotten all the learning because the first 10 minutes of class, there's no class anyway.
Yeah.
Reading, it's attendance, it's getting things sorted. So what if they just slipped in before and slipped out after? So these are ways we don't have to fight with our school system. Sometimes parents come in like they're just blazing a sword, right? And they're going to fight. My friends, it won't work. If you can work along with and see your school system as part of your team, but also please understand your teachers have no training in autism.
Exactly.
Your teachers have no training in FASD, and it's not their fault. It isn't at university.
Yes.
They don't know. But so if we come in with the expectation, again, we talk about expectations. If we come in with the expectations that the teachers know, then we're angry. If we come in with the love and the understanding that says they don't know.
Compassion.
Yeah. And we say, you know what, I really want you to have a good day. And I really want my child to have a good day. Here's a couple of things that I think will help you. If we can come at it that way, then we start to build this collaborative team with our school, and then we build success.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I like that.
Yeah.
I think that you and I could talk about building school programs to talk to schools about that kind of thing. Because that would be a really big asset for them to be able to have that knowledge and say, hey, let's offer your teachers some training. Let's offer your students an assembly to understand these special needs students and how to support them better. So definitely some great ideas.
Great. Yeah. And over the years, I too had to select my schools selectively, because of the needs of my kids. And I'm privileged in my community to be able to do that. My kids go to public school. They don't go to private school. Private school wouldn't actually meet their needs. But they go to a public school. And here in Canada, maybe in the States too, I don't really know, but here in Canada, there's a big, especially in Alberta, where I live, a big push for inclusive learning. And inclusive learning, I can appreciate the value of that in some ways, I really can. But in some ways, it really, as the Brits say, lets down the side. It really doesn't serve the children that are really struggling. It doesn't serve them well. If a child has, let's say, a physical disability, but has the cognitive ability, then you can see how inclusivity could work really brilliantly, because it teaches everybody to be compassionate and teaches everybody has strengths come to the table.
Mm-hmm.
However, when a child has an invisible disability, and maybe high functioning autism will fall into an inclusive
Yes.
setting, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Because the learning style is so different, and because the sensory needs are so different, that it may well be, because an inclusive classroom is a large classroom.
Yeah.
Right? You've got 27, 28, 30, 35 kids. That's not a good setting for an autistic child.
No,
A child with
definitely not.
autism, I shall say.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
It's not, because of the sensory needs,
Mm-hmm.
avoidance or seeking. It's not the right environment.
Yeah.
Likewise with the kid with FASD. So while the idea of an inclusive environment is lovely, I think, in a utopian setting where a child has, a trained teacher and a trained EA.
Exactly.
But
That's
nobody
not
has
how
that.
it is.
But nobody
Exactly.
has that. No.
They should start out small with like inclusivity groups so that they can start just doing groups during the day. Like I'm creating, I have written the children's books. And so I created a reading program that includes the children's books to help bring kids together and that's easy. That's just a small group, a small time period. That's not all day long, all the subjects, all of the, that's too much to ask for those kids. Yeah. Agreed.
And you can't paint a person, all people with one brush. That's wrong.
Yes.
That's, completely
true.
inaccurate. So it is with schools, even schools within the same district, because schools, each administrator of each school, so each principal and vice principal of each school has a lot of say in how their school's operated and the tone of their school.
Yeah.
And even how money is allocated in their school. So even, some public schools are fantastic because the administrator is fantastic and the staff are fantastic. Some are very rigid and are not supportive and not flexible and not accommodating to children with special needs, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, but again, a lot of it comes down to when you know better, you can do better. I think that's my new mantra. I've got a few mantras. One of them, here's one for moms. You'll love this. Hang on to this, moms. In an hour, it'll be different.
That is so true, right?
Right? So when the shit has hit the fan, your kid is dysregulated, it is off the friggin' charts. If you can whisper to yourself, it will be, because in an hour they will have been fed, or an hour they will be in bed, or an hour they'll be playing Fortnite, in an hour they'll be at school.
Yeah.
In an hour it'll be different. So if you can,
I like that.
That was a little bit of wisdom that popped in my brain one time at, the moment I needed it, because I was crying, like, I can't do this anymore. In an hour it'll be different. And it was. So that's one mantra I have. But another mantra that I'm really grasping onto now is, when we know better, we do better.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And isn't that true? That's our children, that's us, it's our administrators, it's our birth moms. If we as women, if we really knew the damage alcohol did to our own bodies, let alone these developing bodies within us, if we really knew, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Unless, and this is like compassionately, unless there's a mental health or a substance use condition, then that's a different thing. And there again, we need compassion.
Yeah, 100%.
I know from my personal experience, having a child who slipped into addiction, and other friends whose children have slipped into addiction steals your life. It steals your ability to have priorities. It steals your relationships. It steals your ability. It really does. It just devastates you, and it devastates all of your relationships, because once you're in addiction, from my perspective and my understanding, you're seeking that relief of whatever psychological and emotional pain you have. That's what led you into addiction in the first place. So
comfort yourself.
Yeah, well, you're trying to escape the pain.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to I don't want to feel this pain anymore, because as Dr. Gabor Mate tells us, addiction comes from pain. So not why the addiction, why the pain. So again, with compassion, a woman who's in addiction and is pregnant is not intentionally hurting her baby.
Yeah.
She's not cognitively aware of that she's hurting her baby. So yes, there's responsibility. And when we know better, we'll do better.
Exactly. I love that. When we know better, we'll do better. I really like that. And hopefully all you listeners today will have gained great education and knowledge, and now can move forward with that. When you know better, you'll do better. And so I'm sure you'll take that as the golden nugget
Yeah,
was
yeah, and
presented
yeah,
as.
yeah, exactly. And these aren't bad kids, whether these are autistic
Yeah.
kids that are, trashing your house or
Yep.
trashing you.
Yep.
Am I reading your
I
mail
got
right now?
it. Yep.
Got it.
I
Your
think there's more
minivan.
Doritos on the floor than there are in the bag on any given Dorito bag day. He likes to lick them and throw them. He just likes the seasoning.
You know what? Okay, here's my other mantra. Any idea is a good idea.
Right? Buy seasoning. Dorito seasoning, please. That's what we
Yeah.
need on our list. No more trips. Pour some in a bowl. Let him
Yeah,
lick it.
just lick this out.
Exactly. Oh, that
Maybe
is
it's
so
sensitive
funny.
too. He doesn't want the crunchy. Like, who
Yeah,
knows?
I know. It's so
sometimes,
interesting, right?
And it's okay just to go, who knows?
Yeah,
Because you're not gonna know. You're not going to think like your kid thinks. And okay, so don't,
exactly.
but understand the need behind the behavior. But what was I going to say? Oh, it's really important to know that like our kids can look like really bad kids, especially, in that grocery store when
Yeah.
everybody else who does not know what's going on behind the scenes and they see your kid throwing a fit.
Yeah.
It's not a bad kid and you're not a bad mom.
No.
Your kid's having a meltdown and you know what you need to do in that moment. And you need to comfort your kid. This is not the kid that you can walk away from because they'll self-regulate because of their sense of abandonment. That's not our kid. Our
Nope.
kid needs you to co-regulate. And so when it
Yes.
looks like you're indulging your kid, just put the blinders on to this lovely, precious, horrendous child in front of you
Exactly.
and ignore everybody else around you. And when they
Exactly.
criticize you, do what I do. Invite them for dinner. That's what I do.
Exactly. You know what?
I have all these opinions. Come for dinner. Like if you
Yeah.
cook something, come for dinner. Nobody has ever taken me up on that. And I mean it. Come for dinner. Come see the
Exactly.
show. Nobody.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Mind your own business. Mind your own business.
Exactly. And sometimes I don't anymore. It's been a really long time, but there are times in the past where I've said, this is what autism looks like. Here,
Good for
this
you.
is what it looks like.
Good for you.
This is it. Don't
for
look
you.
at me like I'm, yeah. And, we all have those times when we're so embarrassed because we think that out in public, people should act a certain way. But, I'm just really learning now, especially with this uniquely human book. We're all human. We all need to just be kind and compassionate and just be happy that we're all here for and with one another. So
Agreed.
exactly. We
Agreed.
can just, service and support each other in whatever ways we need, especially for our kids. So
Can I tell you, my son, who has this profound brain injury called fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, ADHD that the specialist underlined 3 times with 3 exclamation marks. So, that might be significant. We were out one time after a soccer game and he was having ice cream and we were, celebrating his great, accomplishment. There's a kid at another booth who's acting terrible. And I was getting frustrated. Where I would have compassion for my own kid, I was getting really frustrated. And my son leans across the table and says, Mom, maybe he has a disability too.
Yeah.
I was gobsmacked.
Our kids are such amazing teachers.
You are right.
Yeah.
And it took down, like, checkmate, and it took down my temperature, and you're right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, what if we just don't, and what if we don't know what we don't know? So be compassionate.
Exactly. I mean, I like to go out and when I'm different than a lot of people. I'm like the waver and the smiler and the one that's mostly people hate me because I'm happier than most people, and it's just the way it is. But there's times where like, I really love to thank people who don't get thanked. I call them the thankless people, the window cleaners or the lady that's cleaning out the trash cans in the doctor's offices or, and I'm always aware to stop and thank them because it's those people who are the groundwork for everything around us and they don't get appreciated for it. Because they might have a disability, because they might be slower at taking out the groceries, because they have Down syndrome and they're not able to have that communication with you right then. There's nothing more beautiful than to thank them and know that, they have felt appreciated.
No. Absolutely.
I like to give that little tidbit of advice to people in the world. Just thankless, and it'll start you on your journey of being considerate to others.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation.
I know. So wonderful.
Question for you that I don't know about. what's the intersection or what's the correlation between, I think it's a correlation between autism and mental health challenges. I know with people with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, I think the stats are 94% of people with a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder will encounter a mental health challenge in their life.
I don't know. Now I'm going to have to go and gain that knowledge. Exactly. I'm not quite sure. My husband's the stat man, so I'll get him on it and get him getting me all the stats and all the records and everything. But no, I'm sure that it's high. And I know that there are some interviews in my season 1 that one in particular that I'm thinking where the gentleman works with autistic individuals, helps them with their employment, helps them be trained and get into the workforce. And he talks a lot about how their sexual orientation is usually more fluid than most. And I thought that to be interesting. And I thought it really goes for me. It's almost like makes sense because I see my husband, my child, all three of my kids' brains, and I see how they work differently. They don't work wrong. They don't work, they're not dysfunctioned or disordered. I hate that word. They are different. They think on a different pattern. They think with different systems. I couldn't possibly walk into a room and know like where the outlet is not correct or where the trim has not been put on correctly. My husband could watch a TV show, walk into a room, see a house from across the street. He knows everything that's out of place. Yeah. Everything. Yeah. And I couldn't, no way. I'm as clueless as the day is, bright that I could not even tell about anything like that.
Time. Why did you pay attention to that?
So it's so funny that we, I love that I have this new perspective. I have the way to be able to see this is beautiful. This is a totally different way of thinking. This needs to be like grasped onto and celebrated, not hidden away in this drawer where nobody can see it. And my family is all perfect. And we all have all these perfect members in our family. And it's like,
they don't.
Not the 1950s. I'm sorry.
They didn't either. They just didn't know where they lied it. They lied about it.
Exactly.
It really, nobody does.
It's just so harmful.
Who doesn't have depression in their family? Who? Yeah. Who doesn't have anxiety?
Who doesn't?
In their family? Who doesn't? Exactly. And if they're pretending, they're lying. I mean, all you have to do is look at the divorce rate.
That's for sure.
I mean, and that's not because I'm not even like fault finding, but we're not perfect people.
Exactly.
Right. We're not perfect people. We all struggle, right? And or are just different than one another. And we all have a struggle. We all have a battle. Absolutely.
So, compassion for everyone. Maybe we can,
I think there's some interesting correlations too. Like there's some new brain science that comes out that's talking about finding that sexual orientation is based in brain function.
Yeah.
And so,
rather than a choice to be made. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's really good for a lot of society is to feel okay with who they are.
Yeah. Well, and to recognize it's part of brain function.
Yes.
And it's interesting when we start to see these correlations with people who are neurologically, or how do we say neurodivergent?
Yes.
That within the neurodivergent communities, there's also a higher statistical rate of LGBTQ.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, And from my own historical growing up in a conservative Christian home where things were quite black and white, it hurts my brain.
Yeah.
But again, I am gathering new information and I'm putting together this web of information. And when we know better, we can do better.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with that. I agree. Well, I think this has been a really fantastic conversation. I'm so happy that we connected. Thank you so much, Natalie, for connecting Robbie and I. Shout out to Natalie.
And Natalie Vecchione and FASD Hope podcast and her amazing book that helps us both of our communities.
Exactly.
Yeah, Blazing New Homeschool Trails. I love it. Yeah.
She is. She's amazing. Before we go, tell us where we can find your podcast and your social medias and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, so my podcast is FASD Family Life. It is available wherever you find your podcast. So it's on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's all over the place. Podcast Addict. So like it, love it, share it, comment, please. I'm really happy to say that I just got notice that I have 2,500 downloads, and
woohoo! That's fantastic.
I am hearing from people frequently in Australia. Big love to people in Australia. I recently, just last week, had a reach out from somebody in South Africa who's wanting to start his own FASD network.
I love it.
And FASD is off the charts there. Again, when you know better, you can do better. But those people, they're just not aware, in that community. So, but he contacted me to go, Robbie, how can I start an FASD community here? And how can you help me? So here, this podcast is reaching people.
Yes.
I had people in Germany reach out to me and send me a voicemail in German. So
we'll have to have DJ translate it. He's coming to say goodbye. Hey, we're just finishing up our podcast, DJ.
Goodbye. I mean, hello.
Hello.
So, and then I have people in the States, and I got Brazil. Brazil's we're trending really high because FASD is everywhere. So it's FASD Family Life, wherever you want to find it. You can email me, fasdfamilylife@gmail.com. And then I'm on Facebook, Robbie Seale. Just find me on Facebook and message me or whatever. And I'm kind of on Instagram. I can't keep up with it all. So Facebook, LinkedIn, and
definitely.
And podcasting.
DJ, will you tell our listeners we're going to have all those links down in the description?
We're going to have all those links down in the description.
Whoa, thank you so much. And do you want to tell our listeners, thanks for listening today and thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening today. Thanks for watching.
And what else are you going to say? And there's DJ's nose, just in case anyone wanted to know. And what are we going to say? What's our tagline to say goodbye?
Namaste and have a great day.
Okay, thank you. And that's our goodbye, farewell notice from DJ. So thank you so much for being here with me today, Robbie. It was such a pleasure, and we'll be in touch for sure.
Wonderful. Looking forward to working with you, however we might.
Exactly. Okay. Talk to you soon.
Take good care. Bye-bye.